So it's 4:30 in the afternoon. Welcome everybody to the webinar about improving customer management and growth opportunities for bike tours. I hope you all have something to drink and are eager to learn more in this hour of conversation about how bike tours is using Agentforce now in practice. I'm not here alone this hour. I am here with two dear colleagues slash friends, you could say. Joost, very much welcome to Joost. He's the product owner digital at Bike Tours. We've been working closely with Joost on the Agentforce implementation we did together with Gerbrand, direct colleague of me at Gen25. Technical consultant, really knows the ins and outs of Agentforce and has a lot of experience in practice using this new technology. And I'm the third one on the list, Bosman. I'm CMO at Gen25. Been with the company for 3.5 years, very much focused on, of course, marketing and value proposition design. So we're excited to bring you the story today. And we'll have a bit of interaction, of course, with you guys during this session. We'll show you the agent in practice. I think that's also important to state. And there's also a prize in the end, more or less a chance to win some interesting goodies for those who stick around for the full length. From Gen25, we'll give away 3 power banks to charge your phones or your laptop in this case, because we know taking a holiday with bike tours is fun, but with all the energy, it can drain your phone at some point, taking all the pictures of beautiful surroundings. So we're giving away 3 power banks at the end to the ones attended full length, and winners will be notified by email. So there's no, how do you say it? There's no unclarity on that one. Okay, well, first a bit about Gen25. Gen25 is a challenge-driven business partner, as we call it, which means we are helping organizations resolve business challenges using digital technology. And we very much have a passion for digital interaction. So people engaging with each other and really improving that using digital technology can be towards a customer, which is in most cases, but also between employees, right? Making your company more efficient and work in a better way. If you look at the main business challenges we tend to resolve, there are 4. First one is business growth. You want to scale if you grow faster with your company, tap into new markets. Second challenge we see a lot is cost control. It needs to be nimble and efficient. Let's do more with less on resources. Let's really empower our organization. Customer market focus is a very common challenge. We also on can we get more value out of our customers? Can we bring more value to our customers, which is an important challenge? And last but not least, technology and platform innovation. If we just talk about AI, I think there's a launch of a new AI model every week these days. So it's very much a busy space, and how to grasp that potential and do the most with it. So we actively delivered over 400 projects in these areas, and well, these are more or less, these 4 challenges are based upon that experience in practice. So talking challenges, that's one thing, but also grasping new opportunities to resolve them is a second one. And I think this is a topic which we all have seen a lot about, AI, right? So generative AI in specific in the last, let's say 2 years since the launch of ChatGPT, there's been a lot of discussion on the usage of AI. Also within Salesforce, of course, you've got the Einstein solution, which came first. And now we're looking at Agentforce as the next big thing, the big development on transferring AI to actual agents. But there's an interesting thing we want to mention about AI and adoption in practice. You see on the right-hand side, you see a big blue sphere stating that more or less 2 out of 3, so 65% of organizations are using generative AI, which is a big improvement compared to a couple of months before. This is based on a research done by McKinsey. You also see there's a statement here, generative AI is poised to unleash the next wave of productivity. I always like those statements because it really has some energy to it, saying things are going to change. That is true, but on the other hand, you also see kind of an interesting, well, contrast that only 3%, and this is based on a research also by McKinsey, that only 3% of respondents in that organization has scaled generative AI, which is an important part also for Agentforce, in operations-related domains, which means a lot of pilots, a lot of single use cases, not so much big on integration yet into full-scale operations. So we're more or less in the experimentation phase. And maybe there's a reason for that, which is interesting from another research from PwC. Expectations for generative AI remain high, but trust is a hurdle. So can we really trust the outcomes? Is our data secure? Will it engage in the right way we want to if you put it towards your customers, right? So we need to get used to this new technology and really field test and experiment with it in practice to really ramp up into large scale operations. So I think we also have an interesting topic on trust today with Agentforce working in your trusted CRM environment. Okay, so a lot of experimentation, less adoption on scale. What I found to be interesting is that you could say this is, well, could be categorized as a hype in that sense. This was relaunched in October 2024, sorry, end of October 2024, the AI Hype Index by the MIT Technology Review, a leading magazine, of course, on new technology. And they created an AI Hype Index. And you can see a lot of different pictures in this Hype Index. I do admit not every of them is very seriously, but you see they have more or less divided the axis into hype and reality. On the bottom, the horizontal axis, on the vertical one, between doom and utopia, which means bottom axis is on unlikely to very likely, and the vertical axis is from negative impact to positive impact. And you can see on the top right, there is so high on positive impact and close to reality is Agentforce, which is of course the AI solution empowering the agents which we bring you some information about today. And transferring actually from hype to reality is in this case only 3 months, because Agentforce was launched officially at Dreamforce in 24. This hype index is from a month afterwards, and with the official announcement of Agentforce, we really put it into practice fast together with our esteemed customer Boat Bike Tours in January 25. So last month we launched the official first AI agent in practice. I want to show you today what it can do, and also show you a bit the path towards this, right? Because it's a path full of learnings, a path of, well, really diving into business challenges next to technology, because I think that's also a key thing we discussed today, and also how to really involve your company in adopting to AI in practice. Okay, well, Agentforce, I already mentioned this a couple of times, but just to put it into perspective how it works for those who haven't seen it a lot. Agentforce is, I think, the next big thing when it comes to your CRM system. At the core, Salesforce or the Salesforce platform, Agentforce really provides you with an interaction layer upon all the tooling you might have. So at the core, we already convinced a lot of organizations, were convinced to gather more data because it has more potential to it. You know more about your customers, you can give better recommendations, you have a more direct and successful collaboration together. So really using all that data within your, in this case, data cloud, then having different components connected to those focused on sales and marketing and service and so on, which is all grasping and segmenting the data in a specific way and adding it to workflows. But that's not active yet. Really what Agentforce does is adding upon that a interaction layer of agents who can autonomously handle tasks or even communicate with your customers in practice. So it really brings your data to life in your daily practice. And what I think is the key thing for Agentforce, and that's also why we are very enthusiastic about it, it's reliant on the data within your own trusted CRM system. So that's a big thing, because if you look at AI in general, it uses a lot of web scraping data or generally available data, but this AI agent uses your own data in your own environment, and you can also put up specific guardrails and boundaries so that it will answer in a way which you see fit without you needing to build, like classic chatbots, full flows on how it should answer in practice with all the answers predefined. So I think it's a great addition, and it's really a new step into using customer data in practice to work on that digital interaction. Okay, this is very much talking about technology and the potential. We have the conviction that if you want to use technology, it's very much about relevance and urgency. So relevance is what AI can do and how it can help you in practice. urgency is really why you should invest now. So why is it interesting to invest into a AI solution like Agentforce on a specific case? Well, what we think is very important is that you start with your challenges, with your use cases you have, right? So how is your customer experience doing, for example? So we have a step-by-step approach, which I think is very handy for organizations wanting to do more with AI and putting that into practice. Maybe the first step is step 0, you could say. So this is not a mandatory step, but this is something to experiment with. We have a AI and CX scan, which more or less maps your customer experience performance, and you get instant suggestions how to improve this with AI, specifically also with Agentforce. Why is this relevant? This can be an interesting, well, reconnaissance, you could say, on different challenges and how you can put your challenges to use with AI and how you can create value there. What we see in most cases, what is very handy to do is really to create an AI game plan. And what I mean by that is to dive into a specific business challenge, understand what is going on, and based upon that, do a full mapping of what the data sources are available, what are the stakeholders in this case, what's the reason we should invest into this, so what's the urgency there, building more or less a game plan on an AI use case. And if you have that, then you know what you're doing and investing into, which leads to step 2, building a proof of concept or a quick start, in our case with Agentforce, to really field test it, to make it work in practice before you go into full-scale operations. I think taking this step-by-step approach really leads to, well, making the most out of AI and getting you from the pilot and experimentation phase towards actual production, where you get the most value out of your data and out of AI. Well, this is not only theory. I think I want to stress this today. This is also what we did together with both bike tours. So we designed a game plan together with them in an interactive session. We brainstormed about what's their main challenge now, what's hurting, you could say, in specific workflows within their organization, whereas some points of stress where they want to do better. And based upon that insights, we created a proof of concept together, which we launched and which we're very happy about. Okay, so introduction on AI, introduction on Agentforce. I think it's good to have an understanding there, but it's very much also about boat bike tours. I'm very happy that we have Joost with us today, who is the product owner digital at the boat bike tours and has worked intensively with us on launching Agentforce in practice. So I know Joost will tell you more about boat bike tours, but before we get to you, Joost, I think you shared an impressive video with us, which I want to share with you guys to tell you a bit more about boat bike tours. And this is always fun. If you look at videos in Zoom, there is an impressive audio behind it, which normally would work. But in this case, we have a bit of an issue with the audio. So sorry for that. But I see a lot of happy people cycling and being on a boat, of course. Maybe this is an interesting point for you to step in, Joost, and to see if we can tell a bit more from the one working at Bike Tours about the company itself.
Yeah, thanks, Bas. Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's good to get an idea of what are the facts and figures to describe the scale for operations as well at both bike tours. To start, well, both bike tours already operating since 1977, and right now the biggest incoming tour operator in the Netherlands. Yeah, so we have already been using Salesforce since 2016 and partnering with Gen already at 2019. And yeah, to describe the scale of the operations a little bit, so we welcome around 27,000 guests annually. Mainly our main markets are North America and Germany. We do this with our 42 ships, doing 1670 different tours across 12 countries across Europe. This would mean in total already 1,200 departures, which we plan this year. We do this together with our 70 office staffs working at office and our 150 plus tour guides being on the ships every day. We have our offices in the Netherlands, Germany, and also a service office in the USA. And I think that describes a little bit the scale of what we do with Salesforce. We as both bikers as well, we also say we are driven by our values. I think important to mention here is that our meanskip, meaning a strange word, but it's our crew, our tour guides, all our people working to provide the best guest experience. And that's the next one. You're trying to be guest-centric. We welcome all our guests, but as well being sustainable. So not only by relationships, but we also actively working on reducing our footprint and our equality and transparency. And I think regarding the topic today, we're talking about AI and AI agents. I want to mention that I think it's good for SBO bike tours. We are not aiming to reduce cost or reduce our workforce by the use of AI. We really want to have the technology to improve our service.
Yeah, I think as a value-driven company, that's a very nice statement, Joost, because we do see, of course, there's big potential for reducing costs using AI, but you guys really use it to improve customer experience on this one. So can imagine that's a very interesting field also to dive into for the audience for today. If you're okay, let's transfer to the use case, Joost, which you set up together with Gerbrand and the team.
Yeah, sure. Well, this is the end use case we chose out of the options we had in our brainstorms. And it's our request to quote, I think makes sense. For us, that's our lead engine tool on the website, where our travel advisors make personal recommendations for our guests, recommending tours and departures for them. And why we chose this use case, the challenge was, for example, we have 12,000 requested quotes annually. And what we see is that there are a lot of seasonal spikes in there. As well, this work is really manual and you see a lot of repetitive work because people have to search and find and build the quotes. One of the things we also see, especially in the peaks, but also, for example, we do not work or the office is closed in the weekend, so response time can load up.
And how is the international challenge, Joost? And I can imagine that since you are a Dutch-based company, more or less European in most cases, right? And you have a lot of customers coming in from the US. Is that also a challenge? Because response times then can take longer in that sense because of the time difference.
Last year we opened, or 2 years ago already, now we have a US office as well. So that's already helping a lot. But you do see that US customers want to have a more personal touch or really want to talk with our travel advisors.
Yeah, personal interaction there. Okay, great. Well, diving into Agentforce as a solution, what did you guys work on in this case?
Well, so I think the main thing, our CEO Lawrence also was at Dreamforce, and he was really enthusiastic about Agentforce as a product. And that mainly is as well because we're already since 2016 using Salesforce, but what this also means, a lot of our data already resides within Salesforce platform. And by that, yeah, making a logical step to what I'm saying here, to start using Agentforce and leverage our data already within the platform. And I think regarding this use case, I think it makes sense. Large language models, of course, we want to make recommendations. Recommendations is all based on text, all our information about our tours in the system. And we really think, AI agents can really help us based on the preference as our guests give. What it says, so we're already using sales service. We have net zero running for our sustainability efforts. We do our reporting with Tableau and started using Data Cloud. So yeah, it was really like, okay, the data is there. Let's use it how Salesforce represents it as like Agentforce.
Yeah, so you really got that baseline covered with all the layers we saw in the initial picture, right? Where you have Data Cloud, you have your modules running, and you really use, in this case, Agentforce for an interaction layer in that sense.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's interesting to dive into that one a bit more regarding the use case of Boti itself. So, what should Boti should be able to help with in this case? And I'm curious, Joost, do you want to expand on this from your point of view?
Yes, sure. Also, Gerbrand can maybe join in on this.
Yeah.
If you want, but our from our side, so the whole lead agent request a quote is all about, okay, what tours do we have? What preferences does the customer have? And a lot of work right now is also to check together with preferences that are given. For example, I want to go in May. I like wine. The examples you can imagine. A lot of work to also check what's available. And the whole process right now is that, well, we have to check what fits, what availability do we have, but there is also a process of really generating the quote, because the end product is a email and a PDF sent to the customer where we combine our recommendations to them.
Yeah, so you more or less have three things wrapped into one: tour recommendations, the availability check, and the quote creation in this case. Okay, and I think that's interesting to bring those together. You had some considerations also, right, with creating value with AI in this case, also for this specific use case. Maybe you can take us on your journey in this case, how you went about. And Gerban, please feel free to step in at some point. Of course, if you want to share your vision, of course, we'll have time for your vision later on, but it's fine to hear from you both in this case. But Joost, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's our process, but
Yeah.
mainly I think in September when we start to think of it, when we want to build it, our main vision it was an interacting AI agent recommending to our guests, maybe already on the website, but interacting with our guests. But there should be made a decision. Are we already going to make it customer facing, or are we going to use it internally? And in the end, we decided to start using the agent internally first in our Copilot in Salesforce. And this is mainly because, you want to also our travel advisors here, you know our product really well, right? And I think the reason for going internal first is, yeah, we want to make sure the quality is good. And we also trust in the AI generated responses. And you want to test out this process really good first internally before you face it to the customers.
Yeah.
And what we also find out, it's new technology, right? So what we really find out, it's an iterative process, and we need to improve the prompts, train the agent, and refine all the data sources that we get the right responses we want. And that is a process that takes time. But as well, of course, we need to have adoption internally as well.
Yeah, so it's not only about technological possibilities, it's also very much about people using AI in practice. It really comes back to also the scaling and operations part, I think. So that's something you recognize as to putting into practice. Okay, thank you, Joost. So today is not only about PowerPoints and videos with no without or with audio. In this case, we also want to show you guys how it works in practice. So Gerband and Joost prepared a demo for you in practice. How really does both work in this case, the Agentforce agent? And I think this is time for me to stop sharing my screen, Gerband, so you can take over and run the demo from your computer.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah,
stop my.
so yeah, really enthusiastic to be here and talk about Bote. You can probably see my screen right now. What we're looking at is the actual production environment for both bike tours. We're doing a live demo, so I'm keeping my toes crossed here. So what you can see is there are two cases that came in, both by Joost, who wants to know some more, wants to have some more information about the tours provided by both bike tours. So let's open one up. And we can see that this one came in through the web. That's why there's this description here, which is a lot of, well, maybe you can say jumbled text. So let's see if Bote here can help us. So I'm opening up the Agentforce component here, and I'll just ask, can you recommend a tour for this case? And I always want to or add a please, because I think it's nice to be kind to your colleagues. And in the meantime, Bote is actually gathering the information from this case, getting all this the information on in the case, and asking Data Cloud what could be a nice tour for this situation, and taking into account German language, everything. And this works. So Agent Bote also recognizes me speaking English, so it responds to me in English here. Now, I'm a trip advisor at both bike tours, and I know that this is a really good tour, and this would be a great fit for Joost in this case. This one, though, is a Dutch tour, and we specifically asked in the text here that to go to Frankrijk, which is German for France. So let's and Bote is also saying why it's actually recommending this one. This is because there's an extra question added by the customer, added by Joost, that they want to bring their dog, and there were only two trips or two tours that had this option mentioned to bring a dog. So we'll ignore the third one. In other cases, this will be a good recommendation, but you know what? Let's. I think the first one looks good, so let's try a recommendation for that one. Let's check the availability. And what Bote now is doing is, again, it's parsing that information in the case, and it's actually grabbing the part where it says they want to travel in August and September. So it's understanding that from a natural language perspective, this probably should be a date, and it's now a querying database in Salesforce to see if there are any departures for this tour available. Let's see. So I see that this one has the most number of fake and cabin bookings. So we want to sell just a bit more of this one than of this one. So let's create a quote for this one. So I'll add this in here, create a quote for the 21st of August, and let's do it in German because this case is also in German. I'm adding this just to make sure that my my demo goes right. And when I run it, so now it's going to run some logic in the background, and it'll create a quote for me. Now it's finishing up. All right, here we are. So I can close the screen, and if I refresh this here, you can see a quote proposal has been created, and I can open that up. And there it is. This is the nice This is the PDF that I want to send. And it's also in German because we want to have this in German, right? As that's what we want to send. So now I could go on and send this off. But let's look at the second case. Let's open that up. And again, this is a question from Joost, but now he has a slightly different question and a bit more, well, maybe hidden. Because here we just have a simple email asking all the information that that's normally needed. Let's see what Bota does this time. So let me just start a new conversation with Bota because we don't want him to get confused. And let's ask him to recommend a tour for this case. Now, while we're waiting, maybe some people are wondering why we chose the name Bota for this Agentforce bot. First of all, Bootbikers is a Frisian company. So they're from a province in the Netherlands that has their own language, Frisian. And Bota is firstly a Frisian name. And of course, it's also a double pun because it sounds like boat, which is part of Boat Bike Tours. And it's also a bot. And Boat is very helpful in providing these three recommendations based on this this natural text here. Now, I find this really cool because 3 years ago we weren't able to do this in such a way on this scale. It just understands that we want to have a trip in Europe with wine. So, all right, let's see if there's any availability here for this one. And so, first of all, there's both. So now there's something missing from the context that Boulder requires, because in this case, it wants to know how many guests there are. So let me help him just a bit. So I see it's Joost traveling with his wife. So I know that's 2 guests. Sometimes Bota already understands that me and my wife means 2 people, and in this case, I need to help him a bit. Let's see, I still have some availability for this one. All right, so let's try a slightly different question. So how much will the tour cost on, let me take that date, 3/8, question mark. So I'm asking a different question than I did in my first case, just to show you that even with different intentions, Bota can still figure out that I actually want the same thing. So it's figuring out the next steps. And it's still understanding that I want to create a quote. So it tells me that the quote was actually created. Let's see if that worked. I'll refresh the page. And yeah, there it is. So I can click it here. And here it is. The same, it's a quote, but now it's in English, because this case was also in English, and both assumed correctly that I wanted to send that email in English. Now, in this case, we want to do the final thing. We want to send an email to this customer, and let's send this email using Einstein. So I'll use this button, draft with Einstein, which gives me the option to create a quote email. So this asks Einstein to, using a prompt, a similar prompt that you would use in ChatGPT, for instance, or in Claude or any other LLM. And this creates an email for me, completely personalized, addresses it to the correct contact. It even puts my name in here. And what I think is really cool is we added this instruction that if Joost had any previous bookings with us, we could give him a a small discount, just as a nice touch, just to thank him for his recurring business. So lastly, here I can say this sounds good. So thanks, Bote. I click done. I can quickly attach the file on this case. Which it needs to look up. There we are, add it, and I'll send it to Joost. And there it is, case closed. So Joost, I think you just received a nice offer from us for a trip that you can go with us. Hope you're looking forward to that. So this is the demo of Bote. This is how it works in practice. We also want to talk a bit more about how we built this. So maybe Bas, you can if you can put up the slides.
I'll switch back to the slides. Thank you, Gerwant, for showing that demo in practice. Always exciting to have a live demo, right? To see for a live audience how it works, and just very nice to see it run smoothly. I think one of the key things we also discussed for today is, right, how to get from the AI concept, sorry, juggling with words here, AI concept to realization, and really building that proof of concept and making it work in practice, doing the quick start. You have some interesting steps you defined up front, and we discussed this. Maybe you want to dive into this one a bit, Germán.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you mentioned this three-step approach to AI projects. And so we've already done the first step with both bike tours, identifying which use case we wanted to realize. And then moving on to step two, building a proof of concept or an MVP. I like the term MVP better because a proof of concept sounds just a bit too hacky to me, and I don't think that's the case here. But if you would zoom in here, there's another three-step approach, and that's first of all starting out by defining the topics, and these topics are the individual steps that an agent should do to accomplish the goal. So these are the three topics that Joost showed you earlier, and we also showed in the demo. So first of all, there's the tour recommendations, what tours should fit this customer and their preferences. Then checking the actual availability, just to make sure that we're on the right track. And then the actual quote creation. Now, the tour recommendation requires some analysis of very unstructured data. So these tours have descriptions, they have information on departures and available cabins, and on the activities that you have during the tour. And these are all stored in text fields in Salesforce as descriptions. Like I mentioned earlier, 3 years ago, it was almost impossible for us to build automations on this, to analyze that and match that to any preferences. These LLMs, yeah, they make it possible for us to do that, which is, yeah, so really cool. I'm a technical guy. I really like this.
I see the smile, Gerwant. That's very good, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Then on top of that, so we ingest that into Data Cloud, and Data Cloud allows us to create these search indexers that allow us to do this rich text analysis. And then that returns tour information. And then we use a flex template or a prompt template to actually build that response. So also reasoning on why these three recommendations would fit. So where you saw that it also explains why it shows, for instance, the Dutch tour in the first example, because it has dog availability. You can bring your dog on that tour, at least according to the information. And in the availability check, topic 2, we need to get the available departures. which is just built in Flow. It leverages some filtering on GoMeadow records, which is a reservation or a booking tool built by our colleagues at GoMeadow. And lastly, there's the quote creation, which is well, built in Apex because the data requirements were pretty complex, if I may say. And we needed some asynchronous actions for the creation of the PDF, for which we use PDF Butler to actually create the PDF. So we built up that data model and then start an asynchronous action to create the actual file to send.
Yeah, this was actually a question which was there in the chat a few minutes ago. Indeed, we push out a quote in the end as a PDF, right, to share with the potential client or the client in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like about these three examples as well is that they show how flexible Agentforce is in the core, that it can leverage all these Salesforce technologies already there. So Flow and Apex, that's nothing new. It's something we've been doing for the past eight and a half, for the past 13 years, I think. I could just plug that in.
Yeah, you got some experience there, so to say.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a bit of a look underneath the hood. This is also always a challenge because I think, Gerwans, you can talk for this on this one for hours, but I think this is more or less the highlight on what we use. So very much also using the capacity of Data Cloud and other Salesforce related data and technology to really bring it to life. Also want to dive into a bit of the learnings, and if you're okay, Joost, I also want to bring you back into the conversation because working with this new technology is very interesting. It has a lot of enthusiasm to it, of course, from the business and technology side of things, but it's also very important that you're positioning something new with your colleagues, right? And I think it's fun for the audience to have a bit of a learnings from your side, what you really learn on this one. I think the first one, the importance of a wider integrated topic definition. Gerwant, I think this is more for you to share something about, because this is a very important topic you found within the project itself. Maybe you can share something about that one.
Yeah, so at the start of the project, as mentioned, we defined these three topics, and at first we were a bit hesitant to make these topics too complex, to put too many. We tried to make sure not to put too many actions, not too many instructions in it. And when we went live with our first, like the very first version, the feedback that we got was that we needed to add a bit more actions and a bit more information to make the recommendations more useful for our end users. And eventually we found out that just adding more actions and adding more instructions, there's definitely an upper limit to it, but adding more definitely helped in the flexibility of the topic. So it really shows how well Atlas performs in real situations, which I was really impressed by.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I can imagine. Don't make it too small. Really use the technology to its best advantage. Thanks, Gerwant. And I think the second point is something you really stressed, Joost, involvement of end users.
And I think the main thing is, I think a lot of people can recognize this using AI. We as developers, we don't really know the product, or we cannot really recognize if the answer that the agent gives is correct, right? And it may seem that the answer is really nice because it's structured and seems valid. But yeah, you can find out, especially in the beginning of this project, we found out it gave really nice answers, but it didn't make any sense. So it's really good that when we see have the end users or your product experts involved at the beginning already to check if what the agent response makes sense.
Yeah, I can imagine really having that domain or business knowledge is really crucial to bring it to life. I can imagine this also, it's the same with using AI outside of your business environment. It can give possible answers or plausible, but you really need to know for sure if it's correct. This is also something which you stressed, like for the internal approach versus the external approach, really to get that one right. to get a trusted solution. Okay, and last one, guys, focus on iterative design. This is something we discussed this morning also, because it's a new technology. Just curious about your opinion on this one.
Yeah, as you mentioned, and as Joost mentioned, it's new. And I'm a developer by heart. If I do something 16 times in Apex, I'm sure I'm getting the exact same answer. Using LLMs, it's a bit different. It's more like working with a very intelligent toddler, so to say. So sometimes you get you need to put up your guardrails, and so that's why we wanted to mention iterative design, test it, and iterate on what you have, because at some point you're going to get a weird response or something that you well didn't necessarily expect. You need to be ready to address that and fine tune your actions, your guardrails, your instructions, and just keep working with it.
Yeah.
Also, another way to look at this is that already BBT is talking to us about any additions that you want to have, that they want to have. Yeah, once you start, you don't want to stop with it.
Great. Yeah, that's really iteration, right? Taking next steps and building it out into more value. Anything to add from your side on this one, Joost? Just curious about your perception on this, of course.
I think the main thing is it's really we make small steps, sometimes really big steps, and then we go back a little bit, but we really see the advantage we already see, and now we need to get there. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, we also appreciate both bike tours taking the step and investing into Agentforce together with us. So really appreciate all the hard work you guys already put in. And then more or less transferring into, we discussed a bit of business challenges and about resolving, well, urgency in this case. The initial business challenge, of course, has been put up already by Joost, but the expected outcome of this, if you have 12,000 plus quote requests annually with a big spike, usually also in January, right, where a lot of people try to book their holiday or want to book their holiday for the coming summer period. Sorry, I think what can be really interesting is that 60% of future quotes can be processed instantly through automation, which means based upon, as you saw, preferences and availability, really pushing out a quote to match for those prospective customers or returning customers in that sense. Also, the quote time handling can be very much reduced because there's a lot of automation in place using AI, from an average of 15 minutes to just 6, which means both bike tours is of course a scale up, growing fast. They can do more with the team they have, and they can serve their customers in a better way, because indeed it's a value driven company, which I think the customer experience is very important. So you don't want to leave people waiting. And I think this one really helps on getting a quick response to your customers. It uses, of course, the advantage of smarter resource allocation, and in the end, it delivers a faster, more personalized customer interactions. So a lot of benefits to be gained by using this new technology in practice. And maybe before we dive into this one again, I'm very happy that we are organizing this webinar together with Ioana from Salesforce. She's less visible now in the call, but she's been a big supporter and organizer behind this webinar in practice. And we also discussed to have a bit of a poll with you guys in the webinar itself. So Ioana, can you perhaps put up the poll for the guests for today to see if they have an opinion on how they would use AI now? Are they ready to go, or is it something which is still a question mark? So the poll has 4 options. Yes, if you look about, are you ready to scale up AI in practice in your operations? Yes, we're doing so right now. Only pilots are a thing of the past, so we're already a step ahead. Almost this year will mark the change. We're gathering the insights on how to. Hopefully this webinar will have shown you a bit of insights there. Not yet. We're not convinced with AI being a match on our use case. So you're, well, more or less looking for a use case in practice. Or the last one, we know we don't trust AI to run in operations, which is a big hurdle based on research we saw earlier from PwC. So take your time to vote. very curious about your opinions here, of course. I don't actually know if we can see the results instantly, but if not, I think it's happy to we're happy to share it, of course, afterwards with you guys. Okay, if you're done voting, I want to take you on to the further into the journey of this presentation. So, getting back to turning AI potential into practice, it's a step-by-step approach, as we would recommend it. Start with understanding your customer experience, which you of course have a clear understanding on in most cases. You can only build that one out with the AI and CX performance scan, which can be very interesting just to have a quick browse on how you're doing in that sense. These steps are all available on the webpage gen25.com/agentforce. You can learn more on how to create an AI game plan, really in practice, connected to a business challenge, and really how to leverage AI to put it into use. Building a MVP with a quick start we have. So we have developed a special implementation package for Agentforce, which if you have a defined use case or you want to work on a defined use case with us, we can bring it to life in a short amount of time to try it out in real life and to iterate on this one before you go into full-scale operations, which I think is a very promising development with Agentforce as it is right now. So feel free and to scan the QR code or go to gen25.com/agentforce for all the information there. I think it can be a great next step if you want to do more with Agentforce and AI in practice. For now, I just want to thank you all for your time and your patience. Thank you, Joost, also for contributing to this webinar, and Gerbrand for the preparation together. Really happy that in these busy times, while iterating on Agentforce, you also took the time to do this webinar together with us in the audience. Again, if you want to scan the QR code, you'll go to our landing page. And maybe there are some questions to answer. We're happy to do so. But if not, I just want to thank you for your time. Ioana, do you want to take over perhaps on the Q&A if there's any questions? I can also see the chat.
I don't see anything in the chat. I think it was all very clear. It was indeed a very good demo, so well done.
Great. Well, thanks to Gerbrand and Joost. So again, thanks for your time, everybody, and hope we shared some inspiration with you, and we're happy to take up the conversation with you on implementing Agentforce and putting AI to practice. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.